Wade in the water, wade in the water, children, wade in the water. God's gonna trouble.
Our next slide on a virtual field trip takes us to a somewhat unknown area. What we do know is this: from August 21st to the 24th of 1843, the National Negro Convention was held despite some opposition in Buffalo, New York. We believe the event happened on this corner in Buffalo, New York. Over 70 delegates from a dozen states were present, including such young and rising figures as Frederick Douglass, William Wells Brown, Charles B. Ray, Charles L. Drummond, and Henry Highland Garnett. Garnett, only 27 years old, delivered a very militant speech at this convention entitled An Address to the Slaves of the United States, which attracted national attention. Garnett of New York, at 11, escaped north and graduated from Oneida Institute in 1840. 3 years later, at age 27, at the Black Convention in Buffalo, he issued a call for slaves to revolt. While this convention shied away from Garnett's call for revolt, the importance of the convention cannot be overlooked. By the 1840s, it had become clear that the issue of slavery was dividing the nation. Due to Buffalo's notoriety as an Underground Railroad stop, it only made sense that a National Convention of African Americans met here to discuss the major crisis facing the entire community at the time. While the slavery issue was not resolved in Buffalo, this convention helped further the cause of abolition.
Wade in the water.
The Michigan Street Baptist Church was built in 1844 and was the final stop for many runaway slaves before reaching Canada or the Promised Land. Here, runaway slaves were able to hide from bounty hunters, tend to their sick and weak, or wait for the Niagara River to freeze over so they could cross into Canada. Many slaves hid in a hidden compartment in the attic of the sanctuary.
Also, many people hid in a hole in the basement. This wasn't a finished basement, rather, it was a hole with just some walls and dirt. The church didn't keep any records of how many slaves hid there or who they helped, because if caught, that could be used against them for breaking the law.
Wade in the water.
The Eagle House, as it currently stands, was built in 1832 by Ozeel Smith, and it is located on Main Street in the village of Williamsville. It served as a rest stop for travelers going from Buffalo to Batavia and back again before the advent of the Underground Railroad. It features something that almost no other stop on the railroad had: hiding places, underground. Slaves were able to get shelter and a hot meal, and if slave catchers came looking for them there, they could escape through a passageway into Glen Falls Park, located just behind the Eagle House. No documentation was kept from the railroad time period, because that would have been a crime and the building would have been burned. Today, the Eagle House is a restaurant with a rich history.
Wade in the water.
In 1830, Amos Tryon built a multi-layered house in Lewiston, New York for his wife and his business. Amos's wife refused to move into the house, and thus came the name Tryon's Folly. When Amos's brother Josiah realized that the house was positioned perfectly on the Niagara River to smuggle escaped slaves to Canada, he began using it as part of the Underground Railroad. Escaped slaves would hide in the house's multi-layered basements during the day and could look out the window and see Canada. At night, they would scale down the hill stairs and get into a boat, then cross the river. There is a book called Freedom Crossing by Margaret Gough Clark, inspired by Tryon's Folly. It follows fictional characters, but the setting, Tryon's Folly, and their actions are based off of truth. The town also has a monument in honor of those who participated. The people in the monument are sculpted after the character in Clark's book, as well as Josiah himself.
Wade in the water.
You're here in Broderick Park. I want you to close your eyes for a second and just imagine this. You're a slave. You came all the way from South Carolina. You've made it all the way to Buffalo. You look across and you see Canada. You see freedom. But wait, there's something in between, the Niagara River. What are you going to do? You can't swim. The current's too strong. Once slaves got to Broderick Park, they often had to wait until the winter for the river to freeze over. Many families actually had to walk across the ice to escape to freedom. We know walking across the ice is dangerous, but they knew that it was worth it. They did not want to get captured and sent back into a lifetime of bondage, captivity, and violence. They saw the promised land and they went for it.
water. Wade in the water till